What do you think were the highlights, or the biggest highlight, the one biggest or the two biggest highlights of the first two seasons in general? All right, Eric, your mind's working. What do you got?
The battle for Earth. The battle for Earth. I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, there were so many parallels for Next Gen, and I was sitting there like I've talked about this before. It gave so many vibes from Next Gen, from the Borg, and for me to see this, it was like reliving watching Next Gen, but to me, it was just a whole new level. And just to see that for the battle for Earth, and against the Kaylon, I mean, I was totally blown away. That changed the whole format for me of the show, and how Isaac and his people, and you didn't see it coming, and for Seth, the way he wrote the show, because everybody thought when Orville came out, everybody thought the show was going to be like a Family Guy type show, like it was going to be ha woo woo. And Seth was very intelligent. He knew what he was doing. Seth, you got to remember, Seth was a Trek man, and Seth is also a Trek alumni. Remember, he was on Enterprise, and people forgot that he was a Trek alumni. So he did Star Trek fan films back in the day. So Seth knew what he was doing. He knew that Fox was going to be probably like, we got another Family Guy episode series and all. But he slowly started writing to make it a little bit less funny, and a little bit more that Gene Roddenberry-esque, sending little messages, subliminal messages. And every episode had a little bit of and you had to sit back and make you think. But I'm telling you, with this episode, it started getting more serious, and I was sitting back, and it had a lot of humor, but it had that human factor humor. And I just sat back and was like, wow, whoa. And I mean, I was calling up my friends like, oh my God, did you see what just happened? And I had not had that kind of effect since the Deep Space Nine Next Generation era, where I was calling up my friends like, oh my God, did you see what happened? Did you see what happened? I mean, I did not have that kind of effect in years. So to see that happen again and have that kind of effect for me, especially during the Battle for Earth, that was the thing that prompted me to want to write a planetary step, because that inspired me to want to write about like the events that took place during the Battle for Earth. So yeah, without a question, that was it for me. That was the episode for me.
See, I go with a battle, but it's not that one, because I think my favorite moment from the entire series has to be the Mocklin battle with Dolly Parton playing in the background. Yes! My gosh, I've never laughed harder at a TV show. That it nailed everything. You had a battle, you had action, you had the depth of the story, and then freaking Dolly Parton comes on, and you're just like, what am I even watching? Like, it's that good of a show. Brilliant. Yes. That was the episode I was going to mention too. Sanctuary was my favorite because it was so well done and so thought-provoking and tender and so much going on. And then you add Dolly Parton in there, and I'm sorry, but Dolly's amazing. So
especially when the ambassador was quoting her the song when she was at the trial, she was like, and I was sitting there like, and they were all looking at her. I thought that was funny too, because she was like, working 9 to 5, with a hard way. And I'm sitting there like, wow, that is so funny and all.
A dramatic reading of 9 to 5 is something that I never thought would exist in this world, let alone on television.
But we lucked out. What about you, Anne-Marie? Do you have any highlights?
Obviously, it's Singing in the Rain.
Oh, I thought it was going to be some kind of relationship shipping, because you're always like...
That is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
That's right. No, you're right.
And Dr. and Claire Finn get together while Singing on the Rain's playing on the bridge, and they make it rain. It's so cute. That's my favorite. But I mean, there are so many amazing moments. It's just impossible to pick one. And one of my friends was like, you need to watch Orville because it's some of the best episodes of Star Trek ever. So then I went home that night to watch it finally, and I just didn't leave my apartment for a week or two. So good. And then started the rewatch immediately and made everyone I know watch it.
Nice.
It's just amazing.
Mohammed, what do you think?
Yeah, you guys picked a lot of the really good ones there. I mean, I guess just more generally, I like I like the fact that it wasn't afraid to take hard turns. Like for example, the whole plot with Isaac's species. I mean, as you said, I mean, we didn't see that coming at all, and that was a very hard, very sudden turn. They weren't afraid to do that, but it was still episodic, and just even in terms of character development, like the episode with Isaac and Penny Johnson General's kids on the planet. I can't remember the name of the episode.
Oh my God.
I mean, again, it was a lot of character development.
Next level.
Yeah, there's character development. There was
serious ones.
Interaction development. There's all sorts of stuff. I really like that. I thought those were the things that really drew me into the series, as well as the great specific episodes too.
Yeah.
And the writing was really, really good. I mean, like I said again, Seth really honed it in, and to me, it was a lot of tribute to Gene, like how Gene wrote back in the 60s and 70s, especially in the 60s. Because again, I love when writing is smart, when you're doing smart writing and you're not trying to wag your finger and jamming it down our throats, when you're doing it in a very covert way, where you're just showing, you're trying to just tell a story, but you're doing it in a way where you're trying to teach a lesson, but you're doing it in a way where you're just like, wait a second, I just learned something, didn't I? Whoa, did I just learn something? Oh my God, I just learned something. And Trek, for me, growing up in the 70s, watching Trek, watching Next Gen, watching Deep Space Nine, they always had hidden messages. You always learned something. For me, even Babylon 5, even I mean, a lot of these shows, I always learned something. They always had something you learned something from it. They had some type of morality where you learned something from it. And a lot of the shows, I mean, somewhere along the line, a lot of the shows lost that. And of late, now they're starting to go back. And Seth always had that mentality of like, where we had that mentality growing up where, hey, I want to bring something back. I want to bring some of that nostalgia back where people used to think, that used to make you think when you would watch a show. And especially a sci-fi show, to make you think, to make people have a discussion, to have a talk about. And now, look what's happening now. You have all these fandoms like Orville Nation, Egotastic Funtime, and all these other great fandoms that are talking about, hey, let's talk about this episode, with the Orville. Hey, what did you think? And we have a discussion. I think that's great because, again, like Next Generation, like classic Star Trek, like Deep Space Nine, like Voyager, we talked about what was going on in that episode, why we felt. Sometimes we had differences of opinion, and sometimes of the things that are going on today. But we were able to do it in a way where we put it in story form without having it right at the surface. But we did it in a way where it was really, So again, I love that. I love the way how Seth and the writers are doing that for the Orville.
Yeah, I have to agree with what you were saying, that the Orville is asking some moral questions in a way that Star Trek used to ask those moral questions, but without preaching it at you,
Yes.
And without giving you the answers, having you think about what one choice might lead you, or where another choice might lead you, and each choice has a consequence. You're not going to be free of consequence, no matter what you choose. So, and I love those moral questions, and I love that the Orville is asking those questions.
I just want to point out very quickly that Muhammad in the live chat responded to somebody, but instead of saying I liked Alara Katan too, he said I liked Alara Karen too, and I'm like, that's a completely different kind of character. Real quick, I did want to echo the sentiments of the Battle for Earth, that the cliffhanger ending of that first episode out of the two-parter, whenever the last 10 minutes or something, where just everything just goes ballistic, and you're like, this was like, honestly, that to me was the best moment in science fiction television that year, possibly the best moment in television I had seen for anything that year. And as you were saying, the first thing we do is we call our friends, and we did get those phone calls and made those phone calls, and it was suddenly like, holy shit, did you see that? And anybody that said no, you're like, just drop everything, go see it, check it out. Also, you know, honorable mention to, I think in the first season when Isaac cut off, what's his name, Gordon's leg. Even though the leg was a completely different leg.
Yeah.
The leg was up at his hip, but he was cut off at the knee or something. Which just made it funnier because it maybe wasn't on purpose. And I also wanted to echo what Muhammad said, which is that it was really brave of them to go in a serious direction when everybody just assumed, okay, this is going to be, what is it? You know, Blackjack and Hooker is going to be funny and comedy or whatever. And they were brave enough to say, look, we're going to tackle really serious things and have really serious moments. It's going to be a serious sci-fi show with some honest, real comedy infused in it, but it's not going to be a comedy with sci-fi infused into it. And that's such a good move because it really, I think it really picked up after like the first episode or two. And then from there, they just hit their stride. And the second season was even better. Presumably the third's going to be even better. What were you saying, Anne-Marie?
Oh, yeah, totally. The end of episode 2 got me totally hooked. But also, there's another fun like fan community around the Orville land podcast run by Dan Barrett, who's a friend of Virtual TrekCon in Australia, actually. They're super and quirky, and it's just a hilarious review of season 2. So if you can check that out on iTunes, it's Orville Land.
Speaking of which, we will be doing a couple more shout outs at the end of this live show. We're also going to give you more information on the big announcements of the day. Way more big stuff coming in just a moment. But we're going to spend a few more minutes closing up about the Orville. Do you have any final thoughts or wishes or hopes to see in season 3, some kind of character growth, whoever the new character might be? What do you guys want to see? Yes.
Well, I want to be the older half brother of the 2 little boys for Dr. Finn.
Yes.
That's so cute.
See, for me, when it comes to the Orville, the way I think about it first is with Seth. And I've always said that he's an agape writer, which agape is a term for just unconditional, non-sexual love. Just like you have such a whole essence with all your being, love for something. And that's something that's lacking in Hollywood and just in creativity across the board in the world right now. And so for season 3, you have this writer who has an entire body worth of love to give for this show. And it's just, I hate to say can do no wrong, but at this point, it's been so good keeping going and going. I just don't see it stopping. And I think season 3 is probably just going to keep that momentum going. All the anxious energy, like, come on, let's get season 3. All that's just going to be poured out in the 3rd season.
And we've got a cliffhanger, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, that also ties into the reboot of Babylon 5, because he's so passionate about that project. There's no way it's not going to be something worth watching. So, yeah, I think that's you hit that on the head.
So many of the sci-fi series seem to hit their stride with season 3 too. I mean, think about like Next Generation. Think about seasons 1 and 2 versus 3 and thereafter, and the same with Deep Space Nine started fairly strong too, but you even saw an improvement going into seasons.
Oh my God! What if Isaac's the one who grows the beard?
I was gonna say Bortus, because we've seen him with the mustache. What if he gets Isaac might be even better.
How about everybody?
They all grow quarantine beards and just
the chia pet on Isaac.
Yeah, Alara Karen.
Yeah.
I think for me the biggest thing is I want to see. I think the biggest thing is going to be for people to debate over whether we want to see Kelly and Ed together, or are they better as friends on the ship, or are they better as a couple? Because we got a chance to see both sides of it, and that choice that she made at the end, again, not going to give anything away, but there was a choice she made, and so we're going to see the ramifications behind that. But here's my biggest question: will we as fans want to see Ed and Kelly together? Or do we rather see them not together, but still working? Because we see them working well together as a team. They work well as a fine team, as commander and captain. I eventually can see Kelly also becoming the captain of her own ship, because she has everything that takes to be a captain. So I mean, again, and of course the crew. We already saw John Lamar move up through the ranks. You know, we found out that he is more intelligent. You know, he has a high IQ. You know, he's now heading up engineering. You know, Gordon, of course, Gordon's Gordon. So Gordon is crazy. Borders, of course. So, I mean, and of course, you know, we know Isaac and the Doc, you know, they already, you know, their relationship. I think the Doc and Isaac are going to get back together. Yeah. So, I mean, again, you can't go wrong with this series. The series, like you said, Katie, it's only going to get higher. And then, of course, for those who are really hardcore fans, you have the comic books that are out right now, who are canon.
The comic books.
Yes, they are canon. And so, if you want to know what's going on in between, awesome. The comics are out. They're now, some of them. The one was it season 1.5. The graphic novel book is out. You can see what happened in between season 1 and before season 2, and now the new one that's out. So again, the possibilities are endless.
You know what'd be really cool is if Ed does something stupid and they demote him to commander and they make Kelly captain, and they just switch the full relationship and working dynamic. And you know that would be awesome, and that's totally something that they might do. You know, it creates a new situation, new comedy. Ed's kind of moping around, like, "What do I do?" You know,
or even they make her an admiral. That could even they make Kelly an admiral.
The other thing I'd love to see is some kind of tribute to Yaphet. I think that would be really cool. Great way to commemorate that.
They said Norm Macdonald did the whole. He was able to finish up the whole season. He did record the whole entire season. So he was able to finish up the season before he passed. So
awesome. Great.